Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Joanna Ho. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Liz Truss will become Britain's next Prime Minister after beating Rishi Sunak in the Conservative Party leadership race. Former Civic Party lawmakers plead for speedy conclusion of their national security case. And Canada remains in a state of shock after a stabbing spree leaves at least 10 people dead. After months of political turmoil, a new leader has finally been named for Britain. Liz Truss has pipped Rishi Sunak for the top job, succeeding Boris Johnson, who resigned in July.
I know that our beliefs resonate with the British people. Our beliefs in freedom, in the ability to control your own life, in low taxes, in personal responsibility. And I know that's why people voted for us in such numbers in 2019. And as your party leader, I intend to deliver what we promised those voters right across our great country.
The result was announced in a Conservative Party Congress near Westminster. Truss won 57.3% of the vote, compared to 42.6% for Sunak. While Liz Truss will officially take the reins tomorrow, she won't enjoy a honeymoon period. Her first and foremost task is to tame inflation and cut energy bills, Sitron Coffee reports.
For several weeks now, Liz Truss had been leading the polls and was the favorite to win the leadership contest. Her promise to halt the so-called energy Armageddon and reduce taxes if she becomes Prime Minister likely tilted the odds in her favor.
And I want to deliver for people. I want to deliver lower taxes. I want to help struggling families. My first priority is reducing taxes, because what I don't believe is taking money from people in taxes and then giving it back to them in benefits. And I can assure people, I understand the problem, I understand high energy costs, I will work to deal with the supply issues and also make sure that people are able to keep more money in their own pockets.
Rishi Sunak, who had always considered himself as an underdog, said he would continue as an MP shall he come up short, adding he may run again in the future. Truss will formally take office on Tuesday after she receives the invitation from the Queen to form the new government. Boris Johnson has no plans after he leaves Number 10, but has pledged his full support for the new leader. Sachin Katwi, HKIBC.
Back in Hong Kong, there are signs that COVID cases have plateaued. The city registered 10,021 new infections, roughly the same as the previous days. More than 3,400 positive reports were received from some 1,100 schools since last Friday. The Center for Health Protection described the campus figure as within expectations, adding face-to-face lessons will continue. It also noted opinions surrounding the government's plan to expand the vaccine pass scheme to children aged between 5 and 11. Former Civic Party lawmakers Jeremy Tam, Alvin Yeung, and Kwok Ka-ki are asking the High Court to sentence them quickly. The trio have pleaded guilty to a national security charge and have been remanded for 20 months. Jenna Slow reports.
Activist Joshua Wong and Tam Tak Chi, as well as former Civic Party lawmakers Jeremy Tam, Alvin Yeung, and Kwok Ka-ki, appeared in the High Court today for their case management hearing. They are among 47 pro-democracy figures charged with conspiracy to commit subversion over an unofficial Legislative Council primary election in 2020. 29 have pleaded guilty and were due to appear in batches before a 3-judge panel of Andrew Chan, Wilson Chan, and Johnny Chan. Through their lawyers, Jeremy Tam, Yeung, and Kwok indicated that they were ready for mitigation and asked for 45 minutes of the court's time each. The trio also wished to be sentenced before trial for the others is scheduled to begin later this year, saying the prolonged custody has left them in torment. Wong and Tam Tak Chi, on the other hand, said they have no preference on the mitigation and sentencing schedule. Their lawyers revealed their mitigation will take approximately 2 hours each. Prosecutors were unable to make up their mind at the court today. The judges ordered them to decide by tomorrow. Janice Low, HKIBC.
The Transport Department is conducting a mass survey to learn about people's travel habits. Over 30,000 households will be shortlisted, although they can refuse to take part. Macy Mock reports.
With the ever-worsening traffic congestion, there is little doubt more commuters are relying on the MTR, especially with its aggressive network expansion. Sensing the trend, the Transport Department wants to find out how people are exactly going around town with the 10-yearly Travel Characteristics Survey. 35,000 randomly selected households will be asked to complete a 20-minute questionnaire. The results will be used as a reference for policy making and transport infrastructure planning.
This travel characteristic status will have impact to all the developments, including the new development, including the Lofton metropolis, as well as the Lantau tomorrow regions.
Household members, including domestic helpers, will be asked about their mode of transport, the time spent for each trip, as well as views on transport facilities. Apart from completing the survey online, the Transport Department can also arrange officers to conduct household visits. They can be identified by the blue and white vest and an identification badge with their photo. All survey officers are fully vaccinated and will conduct COVID tests before each working day. But the department admitted the survey is not mandatory like the census, and people have the right to refuse their entry. The exercise, which should conclude by December, will cost around $15 million. The findings could be published in the middle of next year at the earliest. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
At least 21 people have been killed in a 6.8 magnitude earthquake in southwestern Sitron this afternoon. The first tremor was recorded at the epicenter of Luding at around 1 p.m. A series of aftershocks followed. Part of a highway connecting eastern and western China was cut off by falling rocks. Communications were severed in a number of neighboring towns, including Moxie, where buildings collapsed. There was also mayhem at supermarkets, where products fell from the shelves. The quake was felt as far away as Chengdu and even Xi'an. Overseas again, at least 10 people were killed and more than a dozen others injured in an early morning stepping spree in Western Canada. Residents in widespread areas were asked to be vigilant as the two suspects are still on the run, Isaac Lee reports.
Damien Sanderson, who is 31, and 30-year-old Miles Sanderson have been urged to turn themselves in. Described as armed and dangerous, the pair, whose relationship is unknown, allegedly went on a stabbing spree in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan. Police said the deceased or injured were found in 13 different locations across the province.
Let me be clear. We are still looking for the two suspects. We are asking residents across Saskatchewan and our neighboring provinces to be vigilant. At this stage in our investigation, we believe some of the victims have been targeted by the suspect and others have been attacked randomly.
The rampage began at around 5 a.m. Sunday, local time in the sparsely populated Indigenous community of James Smith Cree Nation. But police soon received similar reports in nearby areas, including the village of Weldon. A resident said a man believed to be one of the suspects approached her and asked for help with his face covered, claiming that he was hurt. But he ran off after her daughter suggested calling the police. Emergency alerts were also issued at neighboring Alberta and Manitoba provinces, as the suspect's vehicle was spotted some 300 kilometers away from the crime scene a few hours after the attacks. In a statement, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he was shocked and devastated by the horrific incidents. He thanked the first responders for their hard work and urged everyone in the area to heed their advice and take shelter. This is one of the deadliest attacks in Canadian history. In 2020, a gunman disguised as a police officer went on a 13-hour rampage in Nova Scotia. He killed 22 people before he was shot dead by police, who were slammed for their slow response. Atakli, HKIBC.
Hong Kong's private sector has recorded the slowest growth in 5 months. The Purchasing Managers' Index for August stood at 51.2, down from 52.3 from July. While readings above 50 indicate growth, it was the slowest pace in 5 months. New orders have increased, but local demand in certain industries were hampered by a recent COVID spike. There was still increased buying activity across the private sector, with inventories rising at the fastest pace in almost a year. But both foreign demand and new business from the mainland contracted, although at the mildest pace in 3 and 10 months, respectively. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 226 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent was down $9.60, BYD Company down $13.40. Tracker Fund down 24 cents, AIA up $1.05. To the forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, euros at 7.78, pounds at 9.02, and Australian dollar at 5.32. Over to the UK market, FTSE 100 is down 36 points. Mid-autumn may be approaching, but there is hardly any relief to the summer heat. The mercury tipped 35.3 degrees Celsius at the observatory's Tsim Sha Tsui headquarters this afternoon. The previous record for a September day was 35.2 degrees, set in 1963. In Changsha, the temperature even hit 37.3 degrees. The observatory attributed the heat to a dry continental airstream across southern China. On to the weather now. The searing heat will stay with us for at least another day, with temperatures of 29 to 35 degrees tomorrow, turning cloudy from Wednesday as a trough of low pressure arrives. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Monday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Joanna Ho. Thanks for watching. Good night.